This is Guy Barker. He's going to be our narrator today. My name is Connie Rufner, and I am the interviewer. Mr. Barker, thank you so much for doing this for us. When were you born?
1923, 88. First, that was a bad day for people. You wouldn't believe it, but the corn was up about 2 inches in the fields. And come that day, that night, Dad called the neighbor to go get the doctor that was riding horses then. And he had to go to Space's Corners to meet him. He said, "No, I don't." He talked to his dad. He said, "No, I don't want to go." Well, I said, "You're going." Get there. They come back, and the next day, Dad had corn up with about 1.5 inches. And it was all froze.
Oh.
They had to replant it all. That guy said, "You understand why I didn't want to go that last night."
So where were you born at?
At Valley Township near the Grange Hall. I can't remember too much of anything.
What did your dad do?
What?
What did your dad do? Was he a farmer?
Yeah, he was a farmer, and I was a farmer till about 23. And my wife didn't care for it, so we moved to Canton. But she said he didn't better much. He went to work for an implement dealer.
That's what you knew, though. It was what you knew.
Well, you mean?
The farm equipment?
I set up machinery for probably a year, 2 years. And then the mechanic, they only had one mechanic because tractors is all they sold at that time. And when that time they started to sell trucks and a lot of things. So he needed another man. He hired one. He went to the truck end of it, and I wanted another man. I guess they just thought they'd stick me in there and see what happens. The guy that left, the rigger mechanic, he left, and he said he didn't want to work with anybody else. So he had a tractor down. He took all the bolts and threw them in one bucket, the pieces. That was a nice looking thing. But I'd worked with farm machinery all the time and tractors and at home. I started to kind of guess what it was, right ones and the wrong ones. And I made out all right. The boss kept looking out of the window every once in a while to see if I was still there or not. Made out all right.
So after that, that was your job then?
What?
After that, you were the mechanic?
One of them, yeah. They hired 2 more after, as soon as they could get them. But it takes a little while to get somebody to want to do something like that at that time. It wasn't the highest wages.
Do you remember the Depression?
Yeah, pretty much. When I was, I don't know, about 6 or 7 years old, it seemed to be the worst for us. Dad was starting a dairy business, and of course that takes money to get started. Calves, so while I was selling just and the milk, we only had probably 10, 12 cows at the time. And this had one calf there, and I liked it, the looks of it. I said, "We'll keep that." And Dad said, "Nope, not gonna keep that. We're gonna sell it." couldn't sell it. Nobody would take it even for $5. They would. Nobody we could find. He said, I guess that'll make dog feed. We had 300 dogs. A buddy of Dad's had one. He brought it out there to keep. And he kept bringing stuff for them to eat. So my calf didn't make it.
Oh. Did you go hunting with the dogs?
What?
Did you go hunting with the dogs?
Oh yeah, as soon as I was old enough. Dad wouldn't let me. Well, I could go on little hunting trips, but when you went with Dad, you traveled.
What did you hunt?
Rabbit, most of what I hunted. He hunted rabbit in the daytime, coon at night. Hunting season. He was a great hunter. He said, that keeps you alive. Coon hunting, I never cared much for that part. Carbide lights didn't make much light.
Aha. So it was the darkness that you didn't like?
What?
You didn't like hunting in the dark?
No, mostly I didn't have a light of any kind. I was following shadows.
So, since you had a farm, you had enough food.
Oh yeah, we had lots of food. I could mind and see what Pinchot, I think was the governor. I built the road from Spacious Corners to the Grange Hall, and they put a base of rock in the bottom, broken stone. And everybody had stone fences at that time, and they made up that they'd buy them from the people if they'd sell them. So everybody needed money, so they sold the stone fences. They built them right out. Got enough of stone to build to the Grand Hall, and then quit. They come and then they would pick up stone if you had a lot someplace. They'd pick them up for you. We had one field that had some great big rocks in it. Man by the name of Pebbles is the boss. And that seemed funny too, Pebbles and rocks, but he said, the dad, he said, you sell them? Yeah, I'll be glad to get rid of them for the price you're paying, but you'll have to break them up. So they would only work the men who was picking up stone. They'd work them the full hours. The guys that was breaking stone on the road, they didn't work them 5 hours because it was too hot. So one guy, he wanted to work the full hours. He was wanting to build himself up muscles. He worked a few days at that. He said, I don't know about this. That's a pretty good job breaking out one of them stones. But he went ahead and they did find another guy to help him. I got pretty well done. Pebbles said, Dad, one great big rock there. He said, we can't handle that. Dad said, you said you'd take them all out if you caught them. So I said, I know. We can't break that thing up. So it was coming a rainy day and a weekend. Dad said they have to take that rock out. But he said, I know they won't do it. So he got a big long timber and we dug a little hole under the one end of it. That long timber, and we got enough of weight to balance and lift it. They had their tools just lying there in the field. We threw them under the rock. I come back there. Dad says, I'll give you timber to lift the rock again if you have to take that one out though. He said, I don't know. He said, there'll be a couple truckloads in that when you get out of here. But, he went ahead and he took it out, and then he took the rest that they could get a hold of some places. I don't know why that one field has so many great big rocks. We used it for a pasture field, because you couldn't. Well, you couldn't step from one big rock to the other, but there was still an awful lot of them in there. We pastured the cows at Bull and the pasture field there. Some rocks in that to pick up. One guy had a red truck. He said, I ain't going in there. Get that. He was scared. Dad said he won't bother you, but he said, I'm not taking any chances. He would go in other places together. Another thing, fellows that was picking loading stone. When they started this one fence row, just after they started to work, Dad looked up, he said, them guys just sitting out there in the rocks, they ain't eating. He said, I'm going out to see what's going on here. He went out and asked him, I said, what's the matter? You guys ain't eating anything. He said, what do you eat? I said, we don't have anything at home for the kids even, just what we can just dig up. Dad said, that can't be. So he come back into the house and got 5-gallon milk can and put milk in it and bummed a couple loaves of bread off Mom and took it out and they ate. Two of them said, hey, could we get a couple gallons of milk from you? We'll pay you when payday comes. Dad said, yes, I can't trust you that far. That was rough to see.
How old were you then?
Oh, I must have been about 8, I suppose. I think it just had started to school. I had to walk 2 miles to school that way the first year. Dad said, you'll have to go over to the neighbors and get down with their daughter school because it's too far. So that's why I went to school the first year. She graduated in 8 years that year. I said, Dad, surely there's the shorter way back over the hill through the woods and across the fields and through the woods. They said, yeah, there is if you want to go. I said, your brother went that way. I said, I think that'll beat it. It was only about a mile that way.
Was it a hard walk? I mean, was it...
The first part was all through fields on the level. Then you got to the top of the hill by the school, we went down through the woods. All but one day. Of course, real bad weather. I'd missed probably some once in a while, but this, Dad said, your tests are coming up, you better be there. Ice snowed and rain come and froze, crust on top of it. You would walk on it. And I had to watch which way you went. We got to the woods and Dad said, boy, I don't know about this. Because it was down grade. He got to looking at it and he said, you can slide from one tree to another. Watch yourself. So that's the way I got down the hill. In the evening it was melted enough that your foot break through it.
Was
Well,
it
it was good living. Never really seen what them guys is going through. Nothing to eat and have to work. That's one thing. The farm, you always had something to eat.
was it a one-room school?
What?
Was it a one-room school?
Yes, 8 grades. Smith School. Maybe you know where that's at. Up to the old stone house here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They had 4 schools in the township, and there's 2 of them still standing. People was taking them over for houses now.
Did you have brothers and sisters?
Yeah, 1 sister and 3 brothers living. There's 3 kids died.
Were you the oldest or the youngest or the middlest?
I was the youngest.
You were the youngest. Were they your age? I mean, were there any close in age to you?
The nearest one was 10 years older than I was. Living, 1 in between us.
Who did you play with?
Myself. I sled ride, move around over the farm most of the time. There was no neighbors that was as young as I was. Well, there's 1, but she was about a mile and a half or better away from our place.
So, were you in the war?
No, we were out, clean out, about the middle of the farm. All open. There was hillsides, but it wasn't too bad to farm. We farmed with a tractor whenever we got back, except a couple of fields. We had them for pasture fields.
So how did you meet your wife?
How'd I meet her?
Yeah.
Well, first I saw her when I went to high school. She was in the same homeroom as I was. But we never seemed to look at each other much. One Sunday afternoon or evening, like I was in the town, driving down the street, and I thought, I didn't know that girl was walking down the street. I'm gonna stop, just talk to her for a while. Here she had just come down from one of her girlfriends. I was up in the town further. We talked for a little bit there, and she said, come on down and meet my parents. I said, well, I'm game enough to do that. So I talked to them about an hour. And we left and went out and got a little ice cream and come back. And I said, how about a date Wednesday night? That was Sunday. So she stayed a while and she said, yeah. So I started us off. I never broke up then. We lived together for 67 years.
So how many kids did you have?
What?
How many children did you have?
We had 2. One was born, an infant. And that one there. But he's a real guy. I couldn't make it at all if it wasn't for him.
So you moved into Katanning after
Yeah.
the farm?
Yeah, my dad says, who's going to be farming? And I said, I think my brother wants that. I don't know. He was just, well, he worked at Lindier and they were closing down something at that time. And he said, yeah, I'll take the farm. So him and Dad did the farming then. he had a bad time at the farm. No.
What happened?
Oh, he was farming and every once in a while an accident happened. He had trouble. A wagon. I don't know what happened. I think the horses turned. That time he had the horses in the wagon. I think they turned when he was working back on the wagon and they was loading corn stalks, corn shocks. And it upset, threw him off, and they had a fork in there and it stuck in his leg. And another time he was working and something on the cutter bar was dragging for him, and he just raised up in a tractor like this. It must have hit a bump or something, threw him off. One wheel run over him. Come down through past his head, down over his shoulder. They took him to Pittsburgh and he come back all right. Back to farming again. Doctor said he was awful lucky. One of the doctors in Canning fixed him up before he went down there so he could be able to get down there. Doctor down there said he'd done a good job of fixing you up or you wouldn't have been living. And he got in a room with another fellow. And the fellow said, looks like you got run over or something. Yeah, that was a tractor. I said, I got worse than you did. I said, what did you get? They said, well, I was in the hospital, or in the home. He said, Saturday afternoon, the paper boy would always gather the paper up. They said, they knocked the door, and they said, I got the money out and started for the door, and I opened the door, and bang! Some guy shot him and took the paper money and left.
Shot him for the paperboy money.
That's what he got.
Oh.
$2 and some cents.
Oh my.
He come out living all right, but he said that was an awful surprise. He said, I just opened the door and got shot.
Wow. You probably would have just given him the money. You know?
Well, he said I had it in my hand.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as I opened the door, I just stuck it up so the paper boy could make time. And I said, down I went.
Wow.
You wouldn't think anybody'd do a trick like that. It's just a young fellow. He must have wanted his money quick.
Now, when was that?
Oh, I don't mind what year. Do you remember? Ken got run over with a tractor. I can't mind just about the time it was. You never think anybody shooting somebody for paper money. And
No.
That's what he was after because
No, you wouldn't. Do you remember when the war started?
Yeah. Yeah, I was working on the farm then, or I'd have probably been there.
Do you remember Pearl Harbor?
Yeah.
How'd you find out?
I don't know. I think some of the mom or somebody was there and had the radio on. It was a big announcement then. That's something else I didn't think anybody'd try.
Yeah. So nobody was expecting that.
No. And I bet you when the thing was all over, the Japs wished that it had never happened. Right away, quick, the people, stores took their Japanese stuff off the shelves. Jordan and
One little
Here
girl
the-
told us she had a Japanese tea set, a little toy one, that she hid under her bed because you weren't supposed to have anything Japanese.
Didn't have anything like that, but
Do you remember rationing?
oh yes, rationing, gasoline, sugar, all that kind of stuff. They used molasses for sugar. 'Cause you couldn't get it. Gasoline, we could get some for the farm all the time. But you didn't have enough to waste anything, go much. I was running around then a little bit, falls. Well, I wanted to go to Butler to get a hot dog. I said, I don't think we ought to try that, because they get caught and lose the gasoline. Of course, they said, oh, you could get enough to go. No, we just made all right. We just got in the car and started across the bridge in Catania. The cop stopped us. Where are you going? We told him the truth. We told him I was going to Butler. He said, who? What for? I said, I'm going to see a buddy of ours. Yeah? What street's he on? We said, Catania Street. He said, oh, I live in that. He said, what end? I said, not just sure where he's at on him. But I think on the far end of it. Of course, I didn't know which direction the street went. He said, oh, I'm on the way down the other end of that street. I don't know whether he's just feeding me a line, going along knowing I was lying to him or what. But anyway, he didn't say nothing. I said, go ahead. I think he knew what was going on. They didn't care.
That was a long drive in those days.
Yeah. Yeah, there was 4 of us in a coupe car. One guy was laying on the back of the seat. It was a 38 Chevy, a big wide shelf up there. One guy laid up there. We went a lot of places in that 38 Chevy. Even because the war got over, I still had it. I was married then, and I bought that, well, it was Dad's car, and I bought it off him because he wasn't driving much anymore at all. Another couple, my wife and I wanted to go to Kennywood. We started for Kennywood. The guy said to his wife, he said, yeah, I never knew you was so heavy. She said, well, nothing I can do about it. And he looked up that shelf, he said, yeah, I think there is. So she rode down and back up on the shelf. I had the whooping cough when I was a little kid, but that's about the only sickness I ever had. Brother got pneumonia. He was he's 10 years older, but he was in bad shape.
He got pneumonia from the whooping cough?
No,
Oh,
he got just pneumonia. I had the whooping cough before that. 29 was a bad year for us too. Mom had a goiter and she went to Pittsburgh to get it operated on. Dr. Wyatt, did you know him?
I remember the name.
He was doctored her. She said, "Boy, I don't care for this." He said, "You and Mr. Barker get ready and be prepared. Whenever I call you, we'll go." He said, "I'll go down with you and stay with the hospital till the operation's over." And so he did. He was a real good doctor. He took care of everybody. Lived up on Jefferson Street.
Is he the same doctor who took care of your dad when he was run over by the tractor?
No, that was my brother. No, he had quit farming then, or doctoring at that time. No, that was, say, I can't think of that name. No. He lived on Water Street.
So you said 29 was a bad year because
That's
your...
when she went down for the goiter operation.
How long was she in the hospital?
Must have been about 2-3 weeks. Dad stayed down there. It was real cold in the wintertime. He said people would be coming up the street selling coal out of a coal bucket. So much for so much money. He said, "I thought that was horrible." He said the homeless had a couple of different places in that street that he boarded on. He said they would, every evening they'd gather in there. Seemed like hundreds, but there's probably only 50, he said, going in. But rough time for people. Nobody had money to buy the coal.
That's the other side of a story that I've heard before of people picking up coal from the side of the railroad tracks and selling it.
Oh, yeah.
So that's who they sold it to. Other people a little bit at a time.
Yeah. They just, of course, that went on for a long time. One of the businessmen in Catania used to go drive in the car, pick the coal up, or a coal truck, you know, would have to adjust his truck, spill something, he'd stop and pick it up. He said, "I got used to that when I was a kid. I can't break myself."
Who took care of you when your mom was sick?
My sister and her husband come and stayed. My oldest brother, he just got married just before that. So they stayed there too, so we had a full house. Before they left, bought me a little tractor, Caterpillar. My sister said that you wouldn't even want to eat, you just wanted to play with that thing. I was 6 years old then.
She was in the hospital a long time.
Yeah, it seemed like ever, but I don't know. I think mine stayed there for 3 days before he come home.
Pittsburgh was a long ways away back then.
Yeah. Long ways, and then he had a business he had to watch too, but he said, I'm just shutting the doors for 3 days, for time, and whatever time it takes. That's the way he put it.
What kind of business did he run?
He was a doctor.
Oh, the doctor.
He was their doctor.
And he stayed for the whole time.
3 days. He said that's most of them worst patients, could be consequences. And he said, I'm going to stay with them till you're ready, I'm sure you're okay. Yeah, the first year of school was kind of rough. I thought that was too far to walk, but
Well, you were little.
yeah. Well, I think I was 7 because they didn't let me go the first year. Dad says you're too young to go that far. About all the kids started. Then I was about 7. Because there was long hikes. An awful lot of us was. 3, 4 in one family going. That first year I had 2 in another family. They traveled just about as far as as far as I did. They just lived on the next hill.
Where did you go to high school?
Same place, in Kittanning.
Uh-huh.
First year I walked that same trail again. So I had 9 years of walking. Bus. I caught the bus right where the school was, and went down one morning. I was standing up there, and fellow lived down the street there, and a real nice family. They said, yeah. I looked up there and saw you standing up there. They said, after a while it's going to get awful cold, and some days it's wet. I said, I'm going to stop that. So he sent one of his boys up. He said, that went to high school on the same bus. Tell him to come down here. I went down. He said, you're walking that far, you'll be wearing boots, and you can't carry boots on the bus, or you can't take them to school. I said, you open this door in this room and set them inside. And he said, come out, you come in this door over here, that's where we live. So that's where we was I'd go every morning, go in there and wait till the bus come. Wait 2 of us to get in. Come home in the evening, and his wife and her mother was running the place. And I went in, and she said, do you eat pie? I said, yeah. She said, here's a piece of pie. Just about every night we went home with pie or cake. That was an awful nice family. He worked for a gas company. He went to work at 8 o'clock in the morning. I don't know what time he got home. Never really finished the day's work. He'd go in, he used to sit down. I had a big chair there in the one corner, about light. He'd talk to you every day. That's one thing. Neighbors seem to be more neighborly than what they are today. You can't hardly get to know them even.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
treated you like family, didn't they?
What?
They treated you like family.
Oh, yeah. Everybody seemed to of them at that time. I was going to school. they put up a whole lot of stuff. The family lived in schoolhouse sit right here on a little bank, and then a little higher bank. Of course, the higher bank belonged to the school to go up on. We'd be up on there, of course, playing, and things would get knocked over on their property, and they'd just come out and look at it, laugh, and go on. We'd set up forts in the wintertime and throw snowballs back and forth. Of course, some of them would get going a little too far. There was nobody. In fact, in the first year when I was walking, the family moved up from West Virginia. Took the house there, an old house, but wasn't bad. It was a good house. But about first week or second week, I had a yell, well, right in front of the door where they put their water. This lady came out and she said, "You fellas live there up the top of the hill, or party in one hill and one in the other." We said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, you guys will get thirsty before you leave." And they said, "Oh, no." She said, "I'm not, no. Tin hang on the well, special for, kids all to get water." So we all stopped there and get a drink of water and go on home. She was West Virginian. They were a real nice family, too. In fact, there's two families. Their last name is the same as mine, Barker. And they found that out. Said, "Well, how you doing there, Parker?" But he was worked for the gas company and got moved up here. He was a great hunter too. I hunted with him several times and never I got big enough.
Did they sell the skins?
What?
Did they sell the skins
No.
from the
we're just
regiments?
hunting.
You just hunted?
Yeah, you sold a deer skin. Yeah, we didn't tan any. Him and I hunted rattlesnake for a while. He was allowed to up in the mountains,
Where'd you go hunt them?
up in back of Corsica. There's a pipeline up there. Well, there's several pipelines, but one was real good. We'd get 4 or 5 every Sunday. We would go up around Sunday afternoon.
What'd you do with them?
Skin runs, cut the rattles off. Had a jar full of rattles. I don't know whether they're still here or not.
Did you ever
Okay.
eat them?
No. And they passed a law you couldn't kill them. Only one a year. He got one great big one. We skinned it and got it mounted. We hunted some of the guys ago. One guy, he went with us and hunted a monster. He said, "Do you know something?" And we always carried a stick, and full of grass and weeds back around. So we think there was one there. He said, "You know, I'd pull that grass back and I'd start to laugh. I'm glad there's nothing in there." He didn't seem to like nothing. And we had one place we drove up or we walked up, but we was up there one day, and this guy had a Jeep. He said, I'll go up that old road. We started up. My nephew was with us too. He said, this place is a little steep. He said, you'll have one place up here that you won't see the road in front of you. We still went up. That was always kind of fun hunting rattlesnakes. Good difference. You had to watch what, because it could fight back.
So how did you kill him?
Shot them we carried a revolver, so
Did you shoot him in the head?
just mostly is. That's most of it was next to you.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to just make him mad.
They put her always seemed to be mad. Only seen one, he was laying on, well, he saw it laying under a rock, and there's a little ledge. It kind of shot out at him, but he had got it, stopped up that. We decided to go fishing up there when we was staying at a fellow's camp. And, four of us was fishing. The other nephew of mine, he got a joke. He don't tease that fellow, so he watched him fishing. And he got interested watching. He took a stick and over there and he tickled him on the leg. He said, I thought he was going to jump in.
Well, thank you for sharing your memories with us.
Yeah.